Okay, people. We're trying this on a lower bandwidth. And see how this goes. Are you feeling the peace? Hum. Stream health doesn't give me any information. Right? I see myself there a little bit. Nobody's watching. Not too sure how I feel about live stream in general. Right? I don't know how to work it, baby. Work it. There we go. When I do these things, I'm not really too sure what I should be looking at. I see it going around and around and around. So what does that mean? Does that mean that the bandwidth is too low? We're obviously still getting something with the live stream. So I can still do the live stream. I don't know if it's lagging or not. In terms of voice with the mouth, that type of thing. I see, you know, when the video is lagging, you get that little round thing going on in there, right? But I have my own modem. So I'm happy with that. Alright, I've only got two windows up. Not trying to be no fancy guru here. Alright. This is just another test. The cost of peace in the house. This will alleviate some of the stress. Right? I can feel it already. My younger son was saying, well, I think when my peace comes is when I'm done with university. He says, that's another 3.5 more years, 4 years, Mom. And I'm like, yeah, I know. That's a long time. Right? So, it doesn't really tell me stream health. Watching now. It's not giving me what my stream health is. It doesn't tell me whether it's good or not. There goes that little round circle thing again. So we're just going to run this through for a bit. I don't really have anything to talk about. I was up till like 4 o'clock this morning working on these books. I'm past the halfway point now, people. What happened though was when there's a viewer. Hello. This is just a test on the low bandwidth. We got the old modems back, so I'm not too sure how this is working. All I know is that I can still do live stream. So if you want to say something and tell me how it's coming up on the other end, that would be great, because then, you know, it might boost my motivation to try and do this again. But anyway, in terms of the non-profit, well, there you go. Popping in, popping out. Got nothing to say on Christmas Eve. Besides the point, I'm more than halfway through with the non-profit, so that's good. And in terms of the paperwork, right? And but what happened was when I was working on Andre's, yeah, see, it's lagging. So is it gonna do that when it uploads? You know, it might be lagging right now. I can see there it goes again, right? Because the bandwidth is low. So this may be something that, you know, I probably wouldn't do very much anyway, because it's probably boring, because the viewer that was here took off. So anyway, what was I saying? Oh yes. So when I was working on Andre's court stuff, when he was in foster care, I had my old XP. I'm going to try something here. And, I mean, the thing was ancient, right? And then it just, I don't know, the screen went on me. I couldn't do nothing with it. I'm going to go into this and see what's happening with this. Processing, archive, please come back later. So you can't see that. Okay.
Now where are the basic chips?
I don't know. They're over there somewhere.
Where?
So anyway,
No, what about you like them?
no, after I'm done this, okay? I won't be very long. Andre, please.
Just please.
Anyway, the computer screen wouldn't go on, and my neighbor said he could correct that problem for me. So he took the computer, and because it was such an old computer, I had files on that computer that related to the nonprofit. Now, I'm not, in those days I was using a lot of floppy disks. So some of those files may be saved on a floppy disk. I have one computer that can read floppy disks, maybe two. But I'd have to go through all the floppy disks that I think that might be viable. Because I'm missing files, right? I'm missing things that are related to the nonprofit in order to just, tidy up the last 5 years, and I got a little system. Good. Don't interrupt me. Yes, you can have them. Okay? So I'm just talking here, right? I'm just testing this low bandwidth, I don't have the fast modem anymore. I've got the slow modem. But I've got more peace in the house because everybody's, my son's got his modem, I got my modem, and then I've got this little extra modem that I'm going to set up a computer with downstairs. So this thing is going around and around and around. So is it going around and around and around for the viewer, or is it just going round and around for me? I don't know. So in terms of the nonprofit and missing files from my old computer, because what ended up happening is, I don't know, he did something to it, gave it back to me, it wouldn't work. I gave it back to him, then he asked for the CD, to install, and he told me he could take whatever was on the hard drive and put it onto an external hard drive, I guess, right? But he never did that, and in the end, I never got back the computer, and I lost whatever files that were on there, and I'm not sure if I have them saved on an external hard drive, like the bigger ones. I know I don't have them saved on a flash drive, because I went through all my flash drives last night as far as I could figure it out, right? And I have to get into my old floppy disks to see if I can find some of these files in my old floppy disk. And because my life has been such a whirlwind, since 2009, when John's wife moved in, it's just been non-stop. One thing after another, after another, after another, right? So, like, 2009, John's wife moved in. 2010, all of a sudden, I'm being audited, right? And then because I had the non-profit, the provincial government that was auditing me wanted to audit that as well, right? Because I was renting out a room to somebody that was homeless at that point, and and then from there, Andre was taken, and then from there, all that drama with my daughter, just not getting any better, and then Uncle John goes missing, and Mr. Lace, and just stress in general. It's been really hard to keep up with the just organization of managing the files, especially when computers crash, right? So I'm really, really hoping that what I'm looking for, because I'm looking for something in particular, is either on an external hard drive, which I have, too. It would be on the older model, or on a floppy disk. It doesn't matter to me, as long as I can access the files. So that's what I'm doing. But I'm more than halfway through with the nonprofit paperwork in terms of 5 years of bookkeeping, right? And I'm going back into old paperwork and photocopying various letters that I've written over the years to people in professions, whether it's a MLA or a superintendent to a school district and that type of stuff, so that this new board director can kind of get a gist of what I've been trying to do. So I was up till 4 o'clock in the morning doing this last night, going back into old letters, things that went in front of city council in 2004 and 7 and that kind of stuff. Shaking my head. Right? Just shaking my head. Right? Looking back at how confident I was in those days. I was very confident in those days, people. Very confident. I thought that the concept of a universal school meal program was, just the right thing to do. Just the right thing to do. Now, here's the thing. This live stream, it says 0 people watching, which is fine because this is just a test. And I don't plan on probably doing these things too much anyway, because this isn't anything more than I can do on a video camera and then upload, right? At least I have the hard copy that I can put onto an external hard drive. Here I don't have a hard copy. I'd have to download some program onto my computer and then download the video off of YouTube and then transfer that video onto the external hard drive, so I have the hard copy of it, right? Because this is my video, right? So I should have a hard copy. More work. But when it goes into the what's it called? Subscriptions. Right? Or history. Sorry. When it goes into my history, it will say like 19 views. And then that's after it's been processed. So I get like I get what happens is after I stop this video, in my history it will show this video with 18 views. And then after it's done processing, it will come back up with no views. Right? But I never see 18 people watching. I see 1. Right now there's none. Sometimes 2. At best there was 3. So how that adds up to, see, it's going around and around and around and around. How that adds up to 18 people watching this video as it's live streaming, I don't know. But anyway, should probably just keep this short because it says no one's watching, even though after it's done in the history it's going to say that 15 people were watching at some point. Is that just coming in and out? Is that what that is? Because I'm getting this in and out stuff, right? And is this working, or is it going around and around and around for you on the other end, or just for me, or for both of us, right? And what will live stream accomplish for promoting the nonprofit, I guess you could say? I mean, after everything settles down and paperwork's gone and all this other stuff, I got a little more time. I mean, I do have the wipeout boards. I do have the projection. And the projector, sorry. I have the projector. I have the plastic sheets. I have something in mind. I know what I do. I know what I want to do. How I'm going to put it all together, I'm not too sure. Right? I see one person watching. But after this is done uploading, Is it going to be 2 videos? The one that was initially uploading, like streaming, it's going to say 18 people were there. Now the person is gone. So is that how it counts to 18 people, even though is it the one person going in and out, in and out, in and out? Or is it different people going in and out, in and out, in and out? And I think where I'm confused is with Google Hangouts. If you do a Google Hangout, you can watch the video live as it's manufacturing itself out in terms of a Google Hangout. Where live stream, you can only watch it through your dashboard, which I'm doing now. It doesn't give me my stream health status. So I don't know how well the stream is. All I know is if this is something that I really wanted to do, I could do it. The question is, what would be the point? What is the point of doing a live stream? Right? So, with that said, maybe we'll just keep this short and end it now. And since I've done this a few times, drop frames detected, your stream quality may be affected. Oh. Broadcast. Hold on a minute. Let's go into scene 2. There, we've got our flashing star. Let's go into scene 3. Basically what she told me is that in the last 12 days, today was the 13th day, right? They serviced 1,700 families. But let me remind you, there are 360,000 people in Surrey, British Columbia, Canada. So that's not even 1% of 1% of 1% of 1% of a fraction of the poor people in this province, within this district. Okay? And that they go through 100 families a day. But their hours of operations, people, is from 10 o'clock until 2 o'clock. And that for every 100 people that get in, 200 more are mad at her. This is the coordinator. This is what she told me. Off camera. You heard her say that she took responsibility when she said, if you got a problem with the system in terms of the Christmas Bureau and the way they operate, you know, blame it on your government. Don't blame it on the individual. Because for the way she was carrying on and presenting herself to the clientele, which included me, who is highly sensitive to these things, she might as well have told everybody to go out and get a freaking job. If you don't like it, you can move. You know? It seemed to me that the only thing that they were interested in helping were the ones that were on welfare. Because you have to show your income. Prove that you're on welfare. Right? Prove that you live where you live. Have photo ID and care cards. Not pay stubs and all this other crap to prove that you're on, you know, the working poor, right? So I guess they don't help the working poor. I guess it's just welfare recipients. And there's more than 1,700 people in Surrey that are on welfare, trust me. Because this is the second most poorest district in all of Canada, in relation to the east side of Vancouver. I think we're even worse dire off than Ontario and Toronto and places like that. And the city is growing by like 10,000 a month with no housing. And they're taking in the refugees from Syria. I don't know where it is. I have it in here. I read it quickly somewhere. I don't know why the video hasn't stopped. I don't know. But anyway, Syria is taking the bulk of the refugees that are coming in. I got it on scene 1 right now. From Syria. That video, scene 3, should have stopped. So, they get first. But it is Christmas Eve, December 24th. And all this other stuff. 2015. And of course, they don't speak English. So, there's like little comments in the local newspaper. So, is it catching up? Is this going to be another whacked out video? Is that what's going to happen with this one? Right? I'm not too sure. The stream on YouTube is going around and around. The video on the encoder is fine. Well, you're either a new person or you came back. I don't know. It's Christmas Eve, December 24th, 2015. I just brought up the old video talking about the Christmas Bureau, which is kind of appropriate. Experimenting here with low-speed bandwidth in terms of going back to the older modems to bring peace back into the house so that we don't fight over the one. Right? Just imagine yourself, the modem, the one person watching, you're the modem, and you got everybody screaming at you. Disappeared. Okay. So anyway, let's just see here. Go back to scene 3. Paper with people saying, well, if we can't provide housing for our own people in this province, and, you know, we're not, the ones that are here, whether they're immigrants or not, needing English as a second language, aren't getting the educational help that they need, why are we bringing in more? And why are they all coming to Surrey when there's no housing or enough resources for the people that already live here? So anyway, standing in line there, I finally got fed up. You can see that with that last little video in between the clips there, right? Because I'm going to put this after the fact. I'll put that first and then I'll put this first. And if you got this far, you're listening to this now. Because the building where they have this Christmas Bureau, I've been in there to shop when it was a discount store, like a liquidation store, and that thing is massive inside. They have the whole facility, people. But yet they're making people stand outside in line, and they're locking the door. Every time somebody's going inside, they're locking the door. When somebody's coming out, they lock the door. Like, okay. So, what does that tell you? And they're putting the volunteers as the victims. Oh, we're volunteers. We're just doing the best that we can. If you don't like it, blame your government. In other words, go get a fucking job. That's basically what... I'm surprised she didn't say that to these people. So, of course... Okay, that kicked out fast. I don't know what it's doing. I don't know what it's doing on the other end. But as I was listening to that...
No!
Andre, I'm almost...
I want to talk.
No.
I want to talk to you something.
Andre, let me finish. No, I will turn that off if you're going to interrupt me.
Oh.
Don't distract my thought, please.
No.
Andre!
I just want milk.
Well, you can wait a couple of minutes. Anyway, listening to that last little bit made me think of the United States of America. Because what happens is, some of the things that start off in the United States trickles over across the border into Canada, so that the Canadian values get eroded based on the political winds that are coming our way from the USA. Okay? So, since there's this religious rift going on between this religion and that religion and that religion, mostly between the Christians and the Muslims. You never hear much about the Buddhists and that type of thing, right? and the Hindus and the Punjabis and what other religions are there, right? It's usually just the Christians and the Muslims fighting in the United States of America. To the point where, some people feel that the concept of Christmas has been eroded down to the definition of a holiday, okay? To preserve tradition in terms of the opposite of a Christian, okay? But when you look at it from a political point of view and you listen to what was going on at that Christmas Bureau here in Canada, and if you remember that video, if you watched it, you've got the Muslim, you've got the Punjabi, which would more likely be a Sikh, right? Because Punjabi isn't really a religion, it's more like a race of people. And then with the Punjabi comes Sikhism, but the majority of Punjabis are Sikh. And then you've got the Christian. And they're all standing outside for hours and hours in 10 degrees Fahrenheit, right? And they're all cold, everybody's cold, waiting for the Christmas Bureau to let them in if they're not being told to go away, right? And the workers are saying, blame the government. And the workers are saying, blame the government, that we don't have enough funding to meet the needs of the poor people in this district. And this is the only way that we can operate. We're not discriminating against the Muslim. We're not discriminating against the Punjabi or the Sikh, or or Hindu or whatever. We're not discriminating against the Buddhist. We're not discriminating against the Christian or the Catholic. Everybody's in line, right? And it's the government's fault because there's not enough funding. But Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. If you stand there long enough and you come back 15 times later, you'll be sure to get a little food hamper for your family for happy holiday purposes. Happy holiday purposes. And then, if you look at my other video, the most recent one, about the homeless people sleeping on mats, with the government, right off the bat saving hundreds of thousands of dollars off the welfare checks that they don't give these homeless people because they're homeless, and then redirecting those fudgy funds into homeless shelters where the majority of that money goes to either capital costs, which is very minimal, and the rest goes to wages. Because the people themselves are getting the bare basics, and they're not getting it consecutively in terms of night after night after night after night. All right, it's a hit and miss. It's like Russian roulette. Not everybody's standing in line is going to get a mat on the floor for a night under a temporary shelter arrangement. Right? But the government saves massive amounts of money on 10,000 homeless people in the province of British Columbia, Canada. Even though out of 1,000, it's 400,000. So out of 1,000 people, so 400,000 times 10,000, what is that? $4 million? The government says $4 million? I don't know, right? $4 million right off the hop by taking away 10,000 people's welfare checks and only housing 1,000 on mats? Just like with the Christmas Bureau, we've got 360,000 people in the city of Surrey, where probably a good 30 to 40% are living at or below the poverty line, regardless of their ethnic heritage and or religion. But only 1,700 out of 360,000 people get into the Christmas Bureau if they have the stamina to stand outside and freeze and wait and come back 3 or 4 times in that process, so that the government can save money. And this is where the United States comes in. Is this really a religious war between the Muslim, the Christian, and the Jew, or whoever? Just because nobody wants to acknowledge that Christmas is a tradition that is embedded into Western culture, because we're bringing in all these various other ethnic peoples from around the world and trying to integrate to become more sociably attuned with each other so that there'll be less war. Like, Does it prevent war by bringing in all these people? Or does it create, what does it create? Because this is Christmas Eve in the Western world, right? But people are being conditioned that we're not allowed to call it Christmas. And like, it doesn't matter to me. I'm not having a turkey tonight. Right? I'll be working on the nonprofit books. I'm not a little accountant with the candle, right? Working for Scrooge, which happens to be my provincial government. That's what I was thinking last night when I was doing this stuff, right? All this work, all this money, all these years to be mistreated like a slave, like a dog, right? Work. Write letters for this to meet this person, this MLA, this person. And I'm looking back, into the history, and I'm like, damn. Well, what made you think that you could just phone up Mr. Gordon Campbell and make an appointment with him just because you said, I want to see you about a universal school meal program? Obviously, the man never met with me because he was too good for that, right? But he's falling for the old okie dokie in terms of eroding away the traditions of the mainstay of what Christmas, in a Western sense, North America, represented for the majority. Okay? And just with the fact that the Muslim, the Sikh, Punjabi, whatever, and the Christian, which could be a Catholic, because it all kind of branches out, right? Standing in that Christmas Bureau line took away the fact that the American politics that are trying to save themselves some money, as the workers that work in these environments are saying, well, if we can't help you fast enough, or if you fell through the cracks and you just didn't get in because there's just not enough and there's not enough facilities, but yet the line is getting longer and longer and longer, as it is with the food bank, as it is with the homeless shelters, as it is with the temporary bed shelters, that type of thing, because these lines are getting longer and longer and longer. And you need to ask yourself, why are these lines getting longer? It's because it's being manipulated through the government policies that are being brought in, whether they're coming in from the United States, as in this case with Canada, that's where it comes from. And I can tell you a lot of the stuff that's going on in BC right now came in with Gordon Campbell back in 2001 when he got elected, and Bill Clinton came over and shook his hand and took an envelope and passed him the envelope, and that was the beginning of a new age for a lot of poor people that just hasn't gotten better. There is no new age. It's an old age, right? So I think the erosion of Christmas isn't for the benefit of the different religious groups that are migrating or already living in Canada, because that myth has been expelled just by the fact that when I went to the Christmas Bureau, right, the Muslim, the Punjabi, we'll just consider it as a religion because they're very closely knit, and they go to the same temples, right? Same similar temples like a Christian, right? And the Christian all standing in line, all suffering the same fate, all in the same position, all being neglected by their government, all being abused by their government, right? And that's just a fraction of a fraction of a fraction out of hundreds of thousands and millions of people in this province. And if it's happening here for political reasons, because it's like that worker said, you got a problem with it, take it up with your government. Happy holidays, right? Because everybody's dropping the word Merry Christmas because they got to be politically correct, because it's these MLAs that run our provinces or our states, members of parliament. So that's what's happening here in Canada. And of course, in the United States, is bigger population, almost 400 million, right? So you're going to get the semantics more. It's going to be more pronounced. It's going to be more pronounced, right? And if you give people an inch, they're going to run for the mile. So if you've got your extremists, your religious zealots, Doesn't matter if they're Catholics. John's wife was a Catholic. She was a religious zealot. Right? I've met many Christians that are zealots. Just as I've met Muslims that are zealots. And so on and so on and so on. But this erosion of Western culture to absorb all these zealot ideals that are just fractions of a whole, based on the fact that the government is trying to save money, because at the end of the day, all those fractions are all standing in the same line. And if they're doing that in Canada, I can almost guarantee you they've been doing it in the United States for a long time. It's just not too many people go out and videotape these things or talk about these things from that perspective, right? Naming no names here, okay? And of course, I don't know what every YouTube channel has to offer out there in terms of what people talk about. But I think the erosion of Christmas, where it's being demoted down to a holiday and nothing more than a holiday, and treated as if it's a bad word, and being funded as if it's just a pain in the ass for the government, right? And they just want to keep the concept barely alive to appease the indigenous people that grew up with it and still value those values. Because we're not, if the Muslim is standing there, the Buddhist is standing there, the Hindu is standing there, the Punjabi is standing there, maybe I should go and do some research and start naming down like the Jew. Like, there's so many different religions out there, but at the end of the day, come to Surrey and you're going to find them all out there standing at the Christmas Bureau as the government fails to fund it and then wants to just call it a holiday because it wants to follow the United States in terms of political wins. So that's just something to think about. Okay, nobody's watching, so I know how to exit out of this real fast. So I should know. Oh no. Exit, log out. How can I just stop it? Yeah. Log out. I keep drop frames detected. Your stream quality may be affected. I don't get a status on my stream health, but that's okay. This was just another test, right, to see if it even works. And I don't get no love for this anyway. Right. My eyes are getting really bad, people. Okay, I guess it's just log out. I don't know how to stop it.